Hello, and welcome to my review of the Game of Thrones Season 8 episode Winterfell. Usually, I don't do episode reviews due to how quickly I have to write them to come out in time. I prefer watching something than having a day or two to think about, then starting to write the script. Can't be the case for these episode reviews. For Game of Thrones, I'm having to slow down my Animorphs dramatic reading, but I am doing this. Oh, shite. I practice this, I edit this, I screw up in the first few moments that they're doing good. For Game of Thrones, I'm having to slow down my Animorphs dramatic reading, but I am doing so since this is the final season. It's the end of an era. And I was actually going to have an episode of my Animorphs dramatic reading out, but I thought I could get everything done Sunday night, and I think I have to start practicing Saturday, so maybe next week. Anyways, the Season 8 premiere, Winterfell, is the calm before the storm. It sets up the characters for later in the season. From this point on, there will be spoilers, so if you have not yet seen this episode, go watch it. You can do that. Or if you don't care about spoilers, keep watching. Part 1. Jon finding out about his heritage. I have been waiting since season 6 for Jon to find out about his heritage. His response was along the lines I imagined it would be. He did his best to deny what Sam told him, but he couldn't. Though it doesn't appear as if he has accepted the truth yet. In my fic, Marriage of Convenience, he storms off because he can't take the truth. In A Flame Extinguished, it takes the testimony of Howland Reed to convince him. The reason I wrote Jon like that, and why I believe the show did so too, is because Jon is a Stark. Though he has Targaryen blood in him, he was raised a Stark and can't think of himself differently. Plus, plus there's the fact he is trying to process having sex with his aunt. I mean, he didn't even bring up Daenerys being his aunt because I think he was disgusted and shocked. I don't think anyone's been that disgusted and shocked since Oedipus. Part 2. Theon rescuing Yara was underwhelming. Theon Greyjoy's decision to rescue Yara was painted out to be a big deal in season 7. He had to fight to earn the respect of his men. He then went off to an uncertain future, a future that would ultimately be bloody with a high chance that he would die. Yet Theon rescuing Yara is done so quickly, it is as if it was done purely so the writers wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. Why didn't Euron have Yara guarded more securely? Why not bring her into the Red Keep so she'd be guarded better and someone didn't have to merely sneak into one of his ships? I really wanted to like this part, but it felt too underwhelming. Part 3. Reunions. One of the largest highlights of this episode was the reunions. I like them all for different reasons. Sansa Stark and Tyrion Lannister were both proud of each other. They each respected the trials and tribulations the other had to endure, yet they knew they weren't on the same side anymore. I like Sansa calling Tyrion out for trusting Cersei, because honestly, that was one of my big annoyances last season. Though the writers are to blame for Tyrion acting so stupid. Jorah Mormont and Sam Tarly are happy to see each other. I like that Jorah put a good word in for Sam to the point Daenerys decided to thank him personally. Though she could have been, gentler with saying she killed his family, she appeared regretful and then instantly went into bitch face mode. I also must say that Jorah and Daenerys had chemistry during the scene with looks and body posture. They sort of smile and grin at each other near the start. It's like, that's so cute. That's so adorable. I don't care if we're having some big mushy kissing scene. That does me in there. But anyways, Arya Stark and Jon Snow is the one reunion I've been looking forward to the longest since season 1. It pained me in season 7 that it didn't happen. It was an extremely touching scene where both see the other has changed, but are more than accepting of that fact. Arya is able to voice her opinion about Sansa and Daenerys without Jon belittling her. Like, I don't usually, when I watch an episode for the first time, I don't usually rewind a scene. I rewound that scene just to watch it again. I loved it. Waiting so long. The final reunion that stood out to me was Gendry and Arya. Where the relationship between Jon and Daenerys seems out of place, Gendry and Arya's is cute without seeming out of place. The adoration they feel for the other hasn't faded away, even though time hasn't been kind to either. Okay, I'm going to sip on my milk a little bit more. Sorry. Nom 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 nom. Part 4. The Norse reaction to Daenerys. I was unaware how the show would have the North react to Daenerys this season. Season 7 was heavy on the fan service, and making everyone like Daenerys made sense. So I was happily surprised that wasn't the case. Arya Stark was on Sansa's side about Daenerys, and Arya is a fan favorite character. While Sansa doesn't like Daenerys, she doesn't distrust Jon. So the show has shown an ability to show complex emotions in this episode. I adored Sansa Stark and Lyanna Mormont stating complaints I had about last season. This is the scene that gave me hope for a good season. Lyanna pointed out that Jon bending the knee and stepping down as King of the North wasn't a good thing. Later in the episode, he loses the support of one house because he bent the knee. That was a stupid fucking move, Jon. She had said mere second before, oh, you don't need to bend the knee, and then you go to bend the knee, and then throughout this whole fucking episode, you're like, well, I had to decide whether to bend the knee or die, or whatever. You have to bend the knee, or it was just stupid. I'm sorry. Sansa points out that Daenerys destroyed food, and that will be a problem as winter has come, and there's a war to fight. And how does Daenerys reply to Sansa, talking about food? Well, her eye and, posture and tone of voice is, fuck you. It's like, wow. And later in the episode, Daenerys is like, but she wasn't being kind enough to me. Oh my god. Daenerys is a character that I sometimes love, I sometimes hate, I sometimes feel both emotions for. My relationship with Dany is extremely complex, and I won't go into this video. Oh, okay. Part 5. Jon and Daenerys' dragonflight. I like fanfiction and find that it's an underrated art form. The medium allows people to become comfortable to writing, as well as writers who want to take a break from writing original fiction. Or maybe the writers just like writing fanfiction all around. It allows you to take characters you love and make them high school students or have them meet up at a cafe. It allows fans to make up scenarios that could never happen in canon. But canon can't do that. With fan fiction, you can turn a horror series into a romantic comedy. You can make something so sweet that it makes you vomit, aka fluff. But canon can't do that. I was more than excited to see Jon ride Rhaegal for the first time. It was one of the things I was excited for this season, which is part of the reason I'm so disappointed with the scene we got. For starters, neither Jon nor Daenerys realized he's a Targaryen after Rhaegal quickly took to him and allowed the bastard to ride him. D&D talked about Jon being slow, but he'd have to be a word I can't say for him not to realize. Never mind Daenerys not realizing it. In fanfiction, they wouldn't need to realize Jon's heritage, because that's the kind of mistake that only matters in canon. My main beef with this scene comes from the fact that the lines are written like they're in a bad fan fiction. I watched The Bye Bye Man earlier, and that was very written. Every line kept to the tone of the film. It wasn't a good movie, but at least the tone was consistent. The dialogue in this Game of Thrones episode became beyond cringeworthy when Daenerys talked about being able to stay by the waterfalls forever, which is a Jon Ygritte thing. Stay in your... I just realized how much of a nerd I am. Then she said something about keeping the queen warm and just started making out with Jon as if they were transported into Pretty Little Liars. I actually rewound that scene just to yell at it again. Like that's where the dialogue was like, and people got paid for that dialogue. That's what really sucks. People got paid to write that. So, if you're ever, feeling bad about your writing abilities, just switch on that scene and you'll be like, oh, I can write better shit than that. Oh my god. Okay, that's it for the review. As I had to make a shortened review due to, time constraints, I did leave some things out. Feel free to comment about anything I didn't mention. And if you're on the YouTubes, please like this video if you really loved Jon and Arya's reunion. It's adorable. And also, if you're on the YouTubes, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, as I will be doing episode reviews of the rest of the season as well as a season review. And if you're on the YouTubes, link in the description to my Patreon. And if I meet my goal, I will do a retrospective on the show Game of Thrones. So, yay! And if you're watching on my Bloggity blog and watching on the desktop version of my Bloggity blog, please choose the follow by email option. And you will never miss a blog post again. I just don't do Game of Thrones reviews. I do long posts. I post some fan fiction. Once a month, I do a Dragon, Cave, and Flight Rising giveaway. So, hey. And until next week, goodbye.